welcome back to another episode of the Recession Resistant Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Cobb, co-founder of HBG Capital. And today I've got a wonderful guest, Amanda Holbrook. She works with Specialized Trust Company, and she's got the ability to really connect and simplify the self-directed IRA concept so that anyone can apply it in their lives. And if you're a parent out there, you need to listen up because you can even do this with your kiddos too. Amanda's a proud mother of two, a loving wife, a self-directed IRA ninja, and an investor in that order. We're going to talk about all those things. Amanda, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you for the warm introduction. I am fantastic. It's great to see you. Hugs over the waves, I guess we'll say.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. I always love working with you guys, and we've referred quite a few investors over to y'all because this idea is so powerful and so few people really understand it and how to use it, especially with the huge advantages that it has when it comes to retirement accounts. But before we jump into that, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and what you currently do.
Yeah, guys. So thanks for tuning in all. I'm again Amanda Holbrook, Specialized Trust Company. I've been doing self-directed IRAs and 401ks and all types of self-directed accounts in the industry for over 14 years. So yeah, I'm a bit of what we'll call a vet, but
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Brandon, you've been in the industry a long time too. I'm not dating anybody here. But it's, you learn from experience in our field, so self-direction in, how the big value add for our clients is that experience. It's not just looking in a book, and I'm sure you guys have heard this at some point, per publication 590 A and B, here's what you can do and can't do in your IRA. No, we don't talk about that kind of stuff. Like, yes, it's there, but, we show you the nuts and bolts of how not only to do this for yourself, but for your kids, for your business, for your legacy, so that's what I do and how I do this on a daily basis and traveling and doing podcasts. So this is the jam. I get excited about this. So I appreciate you coordinating this today, Brandon.
So let's jump into it. Everybody's familiar with your traditional vehicles, a 401k that the company matches, putting in a Roth IRA, putting in a regular IRA. But what is this self-directed IRA thing? And then what are some of the largest benefits that really stand out to you?
Yeah. And you guys hear the term self-directed, and I'm using my air quotes for those that can't see me. And it is not like, oh, I just have a self-directed IRA 401k. What the heck does that mean? Because if you log on to, your account at like a Fidelity or Schwab, and sorry, I dropped a big name. But if you log into those, I get this all the time. Amanda, I'm looking at my screen. It says self-directed right there. No. Let's be clear. Okay. Self-directed does not mean pick your stocks, bonds, mutual funds yourself. It means you can invest in what you know. So same type of accounts, IRAs, 401ks, HSAs, covered Ls, all that jazz, except you are able to invest in stuff outside of the stock market, just like with what Brandon does here. You can actually hold those tangible assets inside your retirement account. So they are growing tax-free, tax-deferred. And I love the name of your show because it recession proofs your retirement account. It diversifies. Okay. When you're sitting down, and I don't know if you've heard this from your investors, hey, Amanda, I'm sitting across the table from my advisor right now, and the stock market's been, not great this year, right? Mm-hmm. It's all cyclical. Wherein, how much control do you have over it, Brandon? Do you have a lot of control over the stock market?
I don't think anybody does.
That's the whole point, right? So you're sitting across from this financial professional who you trust, with your nest egg, and it's like, oh, just weather the storm. Is that sound advice? Like, come on, you should not take that. You should ask, there's a better way. And we're the platform that basically the IRS says you have to explore that better way into stuff that is not on the stock market, hence the definition of diversification. So that's the self-directed piece of it, Brandon. I think that
it sounds like in the traditional Charles Schwab accounts, the big name brand guys, it says self-directed because you can kind of pick and choose what they offer you, but you're limited by what they offer you basically. But when you are able to create a self-directed account, you're really not limited. I mean, there's a whole lot more options that you can open your portfolio up to, so that you don't have all your eggs in one basket where you're just picking from one stock mutual fund basically to the next, because that's what they primarily service. Did I miss anything there?
No, that's absolutely correct. So if you wanted to do real estate, they're going to say, oh, let's look at a REIT. That's not the type of real estate we're talking about. We're talking about like title to an asset, private placements, et cetera. Whole different world. You take that paperwork to them, even though it says self-directed on that screen, it's not truly self-directed. And the reason why, so you guys understand, it's like, why is that? What does it all come down to on Wall Street, guys? Money. They don't make money on that, so they don't offer it.
Right.
Plain and simple.
They've got to collect their fees and everything off of the funds and everything that they offer people. It's how they make the majority of their money. So how does this work? Does somebody just reach out to a company and open up a new account, or are there ways to maybe use existing retirement accounts? How does that work if you wanted to fund one of these self-directed IRA accounts, if you wanted to buy silver or real estate or whatever alternative investment class you're interested in?
Sure. So that's a great question. And I actually have a bonus for you guys that are all listening on here, because you're already taking action and listening to this podcast. So I'll put my info in here, you'll have my calendar, all that jazz. I'm going to give you the cheat sheet of what I'm about to tell you, because most think like, oh, it has to be an IRA to self-direct it. No. So listen up. If you have an old employer's 401k, you can roll that anytime you wish. You are in 100% control. If it's a current employer's, there's a maybe. There's a good tip I'll give you. It's called an in-service rollover. Ask HR if you can do it. But if you're 59 and a half, you can move that money wherever you wish. If you worked for the government, okay, or something called a TSP. Have you ever heard of that, Brandon?
I actually haven't. That's a new term for me.
No. So TSP stands for Thrift Savings Plan. It's a government version of a 401k. I mean, it's like holy acronyms, right? Let's throw some more at us. But if you are no longer active, you can move your TSP at any time. Okay. So you can roll that over into a Roth Solo 401k or traditional and Roth IRA. The key is that you're no longer active. And thank you for your service if you're listening and have a TSP. Those that are in the medical field or teachers, they have something called a 403b. You can roll that over. Those that I work with a group that are literally just firefighters that are all getting into real estate. That's like their whole group. You guys have 457Bs. You can roll those over. Deferred comp plans, pension plans, you can move over. SEP Simples, Solo Ks, all of these types of plans, defined benefits, you can move into self-direction. This one is a real kicker. This is called an HSA. Do you know what that stands for? You may or may not.
Health savings account.
Yes. Brandon listens all the time. So if you have a high deductible health plan, that's like the have your cake and eat it too plan. You have a high deductible health plan, with most do, because it's a lower premium, right? You get to put money into it, take a deduction today, win-win, and it grows tax free. And I always say it like that. You've probably heard that before, but try to say tax free without smiling. Impossible. I know all of you are sitting in your cars right now going tax free, but that's the point. Like, the goal is to get more of your portfolio to that tax free side, and that's one of the big things that we always talk about in our calls. But yeah, all those types of plans you can move to a self-directed account, and that's what I do. So you guys know like the mystery behind it, Brandon. And I know we've heard like mutual clients that we've worked with, like, oh, that's it. It has to be more complicated. No, we hop on a call, I ask you tough questions like your name and address. Everything's done via DocuSign. Gotta love e-sign. And then a statement ID, 2 weeks or less, your funds are there, you're ready to do a deal. Like boom, boom, boom.
Easy peasy. I want to jump into that process with you here in a minute. But first, walk us through some more of the benefits. There's a ton of different investment vehicles. You've got self-directed Roths. You've just got, your regular self-directed accounts. What are some of the advantages of pivoting over and moving some funds? And which accounts can you move to which? Because, the Roth IRA has a different advantages and disadvantages than does like a regular self-directed IRA. Am I able to take my, regular 401k and move it to anyone I want, or do I have to have like an existing Roth IRA? And can I only move that over to a self-directed Roth? How does that work? And what are the advantages?
Yeah. So let's touch on like account to account first, because the second part of that question, I'm going to break it off into like investment diversification. I mean, that's the huge advantage right there, letting the cat out of the bag. But if you have a Roth IRA, you can move it to a self-directed Roth IRA. It's like to like. There's literally a chart on IRS.gov that shows like what you can move to what. But if you have old 401ks, pretty much anything that's tax deferred, you can move into a like tax deferred plan. Now the question becomes, is it a traditional self-directed IRA or a self-directed Roth solo K that has tax deferred and tax free? Well, it comes down to if you're self-employed, or if you have a, slang term, quote unquote, side hustle, LLC on the side, because one can have more than one 401k. So if you're in W-2 world and, they're giving you their free match, take the free money, but also you can have a 401k over here, because that's part of the equation. And, we're not CPAs or attorneys. I'll give that fun radio disclaimer in a second here, but that is part of the plan, is to keep more of what you're making. But the huge advantage, and Brandon, I know you guys talk about this in your like goals calls with your clients, because when we echo it, we're saying the same thing, which is that's that synergy that you want, right? It's diversifying. If you're in the stock market and let's say you're in your 50s or 60s and retirement is right around the corner, having a financial professional saying weather the storm isn't cutting it. So what do you do? Like, do you just sit there and take it in the teeth, or you take action, so diversifying into something that is tangible, that is insured, that provides a consistent, predictable income and grows tax deferred, if you're in traditional, or tax free, if it's in a Roth, it's huge. Just literally list your pro and con list there. No control. And oh my gosh, what am I going to have to pull on by the time I'm 59 and a half? Or you can literally count, where you're going to be on passive cash flow per month when you take out those distributions. Which plan makes more sense? Dramatic pause right here. Let me think. It's right. It's common sense, right? It's just that deal analyzer piece of it. But the huge part of that is taking action, and that's where our synergy really comes into like the benefit piece of it, because we're a passive custodian. We don't recommend or endorse things as a sponsor. We're not attorneys or not CPAs. We offer tax advice or legal advice, blah, 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 blah. Ask me how many times I've said that, but the reason why we say that is that's why, we co-educate with folks just like, Brandon here, to let you know that there is a different way, so if you do pivot over into something that is tangible, consistent, and predictable, you're doing a financial service to yourself. Like, would you take that if that was happening to your income right now? If your employer just said, hey, it's kind of tough time, so we're not quite sure what we're going to pay you this year, but we need you to keep putting in those hours and your paycheck is like TBD. Cool. No one's going to show up, right? Like, that doesn't work. So why is that okay with retirement? I have a question for you, Brandon. Have you heard, and I hear this all the time, so I'm sure you've heard it too, but I'm going to ask, a client comes to you and they're like, all right, I heard of this. I know I want to do something. I've got these old retirement funds sitting here, but I'm down. Like, the market has been tough. Like, I'm down 50K right now. So what would you do in my shoes? Do you hold, like, stay where you're at, or do you move when you're down? Have you had that conversation?
Yeah. And it depends on the person, their plan, and where they're at. I know several people right now who've called and their portfolio is down significantly. And unfortunately, these were people who are planning on retiring in the next like 2 to 4 or 5 years. And now they can't, because they had the majority of their portfolio in stocks. And as you know, the stocks have been hit pretty hard this year, and everyone's saying that this recession is going to be worse than COVID, and it's going to, take at least 2-3 years to bounce back. And we don't know how long that's even going to last or what bounce back looks like. And so all of a sudden you had somebody who was planning on retiring in 2 to 4 years, and it might be another 10 years. We don't know when things are going to reverberate back based on all the economic environment that we've had with all this money printing. No one knows what's going to happen. And that's a real shame. And so for them, my advice is usually like, don't lock in the losses. If you've already gotten like hit really bad, just kind of hang on to what you got. Let's see what happens. That's my usual advice, because I don't like people to lock in losses. But if there's somebody who's coming to us and they're like, hey, look, I'm way over leveraged on stocks, I'm way over leveraged in other parts of my portfolio, I need to diversify. I'm looking for some alternative investment classes. Usually those people are a good fit, as long as we make sure that they have a savings, an emergency fund. You'd be surprised at how many people want to come invest and literally like invest their life savings into alternative investment classes. That's also not good either. I also don't advise people to take all of their retirement accounts and completely convert it over to a self-directed account unless they're getting charged a bunch of fees. I always tell people like, hey, if you've got it with a retirement account, make sure that you see how much the fees, one, your company is charging you, and then two, the mutual funds or whoever that you're investing in are charging you. There's a really good book that Jack Vogel wrote, and the reason he started Vanguard, I think it's like the little red book of common sense investing. And he shows the graphs of what a 1% and 1.5% and 2% fee can have on your portfolio compounded over time. And people just don't understand this. My brother, literally the other day, he gave some money to a financial advisor who was one of his buddies in college. I think they were part of the same fraternity. And he needs to do that. He didn't have any money in stocks, and he needed to put some money there. And this is how he wanted to do it. He didn't want to do the Vanguard index funds that I was suggesting to him. And I said, just do yourself a favor. Go look at the charts on the 1% fee. Because he came to me and was like, hey, they're only charging 1%. Like, that's not bad. I go, well, they charge 1%, whether it goes up or it goes down, just so you know. And I'm not saying that your friend is trying to do you wrong or anything like that. There's a lot of people who have success, but just do the research on it and see, because the company might be charging you a fee of 1%, but then what you're investing in, these different funds that they put you in, those also charge a fee. So if you're getting charged 1 to 2% fee, compounded over 30 years, it comes out to millions of dollars. So I'll advise people to look into that and then convert a portion, maybe not everything, over to a self-directed. Like, you don't want all your portfolio to be weighted towards alternative investment types, right? That wouldn't be smart, but definitely taking a portion over to it and just starting with a little bit to see and test the waters and going for there. That's usually how the conversations go. But it's a very tough conversation for those who've taken a hit in their portfolio and they're wondering like what to do and what's the next step. I usually don't advise. I usually tell them to hang tight, let's bounce back. But once things are going really well, now let's look at diversifying and pivoting over.
Yeah. It's that, you say, and you're segueing perfect to where I wanted to go next, which was like, what are your costs? Because majority of folks don't know. Like, I ask the question all the time, whether it's from stage, podcasts, meetings, one-on-ones, it's, no one knows really what they pay. And it's like, why is that? Like, what you pay in closing costs for a property, what you paid for your car, but you don't know what you pay for your nest egg. Okay, I'll get you hit that hot button. But going back to that diversification piece, that's where, so I totally agree. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. You have to diversify. Okay. So we say the same message there, but twofold too, if you are in a position where you are down and you are retiring soon, it's either you buy, hold, hope, and pray that it comes back, or you rip the Band-Aid off and you put it into something that is consistent, predictable, where you can measure literally to the day when you're back in the black. It's just math, guys. Like, that's all we're talking about, but it's the key of, one, knowing there's a better way, and how to diversify that, to minimize your risk. Because what is happening to those that are retiring and that do have everything weighted in the stock market and none of it's diversified into Roth, tax-free, they're burning the candle at both ends, and they're going to be forced to work longer. And it's like burning even a brighter, bigger flame because of inflation, because things cost more. So that's, kind of, you have to look at your own scenario, but we've seen, I will tell you the trend that we've seen, because it's usually always a pain point, right? I got a deal to do, Amanda. I'm ready to self-direct, or, oh my God, my CPA gave me a huge tax bill and I got to do something, Amanda. It's usually, or the market is doing horrible. I need to get out of it, Amanda. Those are like the conversation, the motivation for taking action. Be more proactive, I guess, is my message there. So I'm going to touch on something too that you touched on, the fee piece.
Yeah, please.
I love the fee piece. Okay. So like you're saying that, and I've read that book and I use the Jack Bogle example all of the time, because their algorithm in Wall Street is not meant to benefit you. Shocker.
Yeah.
They're all getting paid. And I always use the analogy of, if you're in mutual funds, there are mutual hands in your cookie jar and you're paying all of them. Think of it that way. They're not doing it for free. But if you look at, I don't know if you've ever looked at ICI.org. So it's the Investment Company Institute. So it's a third-party institute that surveys all of the financial institutions and pulls this really complex report, but gives you the average of like what is paid for accounts and managed accounts. Do you know what that number is? You guys are gonna like get sick. It's like 6 to 7% is what the average person pays. Yeah, and they have no idea, because it happens on the back end. It's disclosed in that little paper thin prospectus.
Yeah, the big packet that you have to sign. Yeah.
And then, everything's green now. So who really is reading through all that? But in comparison, when you self-direct, especially with like, we're working mainly with like accredited investors, your 300K IRA is less than 0.5%. All transactions included. So it means free checks, 2 wires, document handling, processing, all of my team's resources are all at your disposal. All of our knowledge and experience is right at your fingertips. So when you look at it from like a cost basis, that cost objection is never one of them when you're looking at self-direction. And I find most people are real like hesitant to talk about fees and costs. Like, no, you should. And please be comfortable talking about that. Don't feel bad about asking someone you're working with, well, what does this cost? There's, when you go car shopping, there's sticker prices. When you're looking for properties, there's prices on the MLS, what it costs. So just, let's get that mindset and just throw it away. Ask the question.
Yeah. No 6-7% crazy fees with Wall Street. That's fantastic. And it diversifies and it allows you to open up into a plethora of other investment options. I love it. Now, what kind of company would you call Specialized Trust Company? Is it a custodian company? Is it a self-directed IRA company? What's the industry terminology for this type of business?
That is a great question, because it's a question most don't know to ask. And
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. So there's 2 types of companies in our world. Okay. There are custodians, which Specialized Trust Company is a custodian. And then the second one below that is an administrator. Okay. Basically, an administrator needs a big brother custodian to back them to even operate per the IRS.
I see.
So we are like the highest compliance. That means we hold a trust license in the state of New Mexico. There are third-party audits, and the state comes in and audits us, I think 2 to 3 times a year. Actually, I know 2 to 3 times a year. So when you're going through documents, et cetera, these are all retirement accounts. The same chapters of the revenue code that govern the Fidelities of the world. I need to stop dropping names, but the big banks, govern us. It's the same thing. I always say I heart compliance. That is the industry that we're in. So it's all the same rules. It's all the same regs, all the same contribution limits. But when you're looking for a company, they are not all made the same. So questions that you do want to ask is that one. Are you a custodian? When your funds are here and they're in cash, they're FDIC insured, just like a savings account. So your funds aren't going anywhere. I get the question of, well, are they at risk when I invest? It's the calculated risk of your investment is the one that you choose. That's the self-directed part. That's that funny disclaimer I gave. We can show you the how. We can talk about creative investment strategies. We can show you how to do it for your kids or in conjunction with your other family members, so everyone's growing from the same investment or strategy, and you can completely tell us, go pound sand, or that's phenomenal. It's okay. Either way. It's your choice at the end of the day. That's where the self-directed comes in. And it's a different relationship than other financial professionals because, the contract that you're usually given, like when you go get a job, you sign up for that 401k or your brokerage account, what have you, it's, hey, buddy, you win, we win, you lose, we win. Okay, sign here. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Slow down what I just said. That does not work in any other aspect of your life, not business partnerships, not marriage, friendship, none of that. It should be win-win, right? And that's how you want to vet your relationships. But the other piece of that, I get the question a lot when folks are shopping around, like they hear about self-direction. The only question they know to ask is, what are your fees? It's one of those, like, don't base your long-term relationship, because it is a retirement account, solely based on fees. Like, we're right in the middle. There are some that I call like the DIY shops that, like, oh, I paid a couple $100, I got IRA or, a 401k, and I'm, the TPA of it, which is like super scary. You don't want that. And you get what you pay for. Well, I'm so frustrated because I call and no one answers. Well, no kidding. They can't pay anybody to answer your call.
And good luck doing some investments when they're not answering the phones.
Yeah. And that's where, most of the pain comes in, is that service. We, like, our team's all certified. We take them through the RITA certification. They have to test out. So you have full confidence on who you're talking to on the other line knows. But more importantly, and this is so easy in any business, that they pick up the phone, they return your email, that it's processed within 24 to 72 hours once received. Those are the important pieces. That they'll do the deal structure that you want to do, so those are, the questions, or what sets apart like team member from team member. But I go back to comment, in your industry is like this too. It's a long-term relationship. It's not like a one and done. I always use that's probably not an appropriate analogy, but when you're in college, are you really searching for the one, or are you searching for a night of fun? Versus when you get to that point in your life, you're like, no, I think I want to settle down, and you're selecting your significant other. You take a little bit more time, right?
Right. The point is, it's a regulated industry, so someone's not going to run off with your money. But at the same time, all self-directed custodian companies are not created equal.
No, not whatsoever. And a lot of times you don't know until, like, you're already in the thick of it. So that's where working with folks that have those relationships will tell you, because you're not going to work with anyone that makes your life miserable.
Right.
You need that consistency in communication and service, because although we're an independent party, we're an extension of a reflection of those that we work with, and we understand that. We want you to look like rock stars. We want to wow you. That's the big difference.
This is all great information. I want to acknowledge you for dropping all these gold bombs today. If somebody wants to learn more about looking into this or getting in touch, how could they reach you or learn more?
Absolutely. So those of you that can see me, I have this lovely QR code. I'm going to do my Vanna right here. That will take you right to my calendar. So I will dedicate a half hour of my time to every single person on here taking action. But in the show notes, I will have a link to not only specializedtrustcompany.com, but I will have our free ebook there. So if you want to learn a little bit more, but it's never a matter of, if it makes sense, it's just when. So hop on a phone call. Yeah, that would be, I would say, the most valuable call to action. And I did promise everyone listening here, I will give you that cheat sheet of what all types of accounts that you can self-direct. So that's
All right. We're going to post those in the show notes. So you're going to get the cheat sheet. You're going to get the ebook. You've got Amanda's phone number, for watching this. You got the QR code. Amanda, anything else you want to leave the audiences with before we tune out?
Yeah. I mean, it's your money. It's your future. Do it your way.
Do it your way. You heard it from Amanda.
Boom.
Amanda, this has been a pleasure. We're going to have you back on the show later on. Thank you for your time. It was so great to connect and talk with you today.
No, right back at you. All right. Hugs over the Zoom and podcast.
All right, see ya.